Hi sexy people, welcome back and welcome to today's video. So surprisingly I thought we were in for a postal strike today, 2nd November, but a lovely post lady's just delivered my Imperium along with a couple other bits that I'd ordered from Fleabay. So shall we crack on? Now we've got 59 and 60 and these are the last two for the Electia campaign, and I'll do these two together for reasons you'll see in a second. 61 is our Toon Blade, and then we get two paints, which is going to be a red and a blue. Right, let's throw them on the floor. Oops. Right, I haven't set up the camera properly. So, right, there we go. There we go. Right, let's crack these open. Right, now the reason I'm going to do these two together, let's get rid of that. Is because we have all of the Outrider bikes. Now, I'll do the plastic momentarily, but let's have a look at the magazines first, shall we? So, issue 59, Battle Games 41st Millennium, and Space Marine Stratagems, learn about Red Corsairs, using power ratings. Right, 3 miniatures with this issue, it says. Part 1 of 2. And then on the second one it says 3 miniatures of this issue, part 1 of 2. So, strictly speaking, I suppose they could be right. Right, Outriders. Straight off the bat, we're into our Outriders. Obviously done in Smurf Blue. Now these, I like the design of the bike, you know. I'd love to see a bike in real life like that. I know they've done like the Bat Pod in the past, and they've done the Tron bikes. I'd love to see somebody do these. Obviously it wouldn't be real bolters, shame. Who wouldn't want a destruct button when the road rage gremlin strikes? So yeah, there you go. Now obviously these are Smurf Blue. I collect Dark Angels, so mine will be done in Tactical Black for the Ravenwing, and I've also picked myself up the Ravenwing upgrade sprue so that I can add in the relevant bits and pieces, which I'll show you in a bit. Marines, close support, assault intercessor squads. So these are our chainsword and pistol wielding boys we've had in the first few issues. They go into our forces, 07 red section. Outriders and ATVs. I really don't like the ATV. If it was something that I was gifted and I wasn't doing a video showing the build for it, I'd probably take some time to maybe look and see if I can make it an automated turret rather than a manned turret. Get rid of the Klingon on the back. But yeah, I think if I could make it a automated turret, then it would probably be something, you know, different. I'd probably be a little bit happier about it. I'm undecided. Anyhow, C14 stories. So Spearhead, risen from subterranean tombs hidden beneath the arid planet Akratar's crust. The undying Necron legions close in upon the Imperium's last remaining redoubts. In their path stands only an ultramarine strike force, their Outriders leading the charge. So there you go, some nice artwork showing our Outriders. War Zones, B section, number 10. Vilmus, Red Corsairs and the Daring Raiders. Oh, is this one where they yeah, this is the one where they assaulted the Fortress Monastery for the Marines' errand and essentially stole their gene seed. Huron Blackheart. Luft Huron. I'm assuming that's how it's said. Luft, Lugford, Luft Huron. I don't know. Right. Ephriel Stern, Demifuge. Ephriel Stern has battled traitors, mutants, demons, and Xenos beyond count in defense of Imperial Creed. Her skill as a warrior is beyond question, yet accusations of heretical powers manifesting in her presence have cursed her to an existence as an outcast. Right, and we've got our build section for the bikes. So obviously we get a single sprue with the first magazine, 59, and a single base, and then we get the double sprue with two other bikes and two other bases in the next issue in 60. So there's your build videos, straight out of Indomitus. But there you go. Right, Space Marine rules. Because we're coming back into Space Marines now, so 59 and 60 are, as I said, the tail end of the Lectia campaign. From 61, we're in a new campaign. We may even have, because they did it in, yeah, so we got new bits. So we're going to get the final bits for our Necrons and the final bits for our Space Marines in this. Now, this talks about stratagems, this section here, for our rules section. And then it talks about building an army using power ratings and points. Okay, battlefield role. So these are, you know, these really haven't changed that much, to be quite honest, over the years. Right. Prelude to Doom. Despite the heroic efforts of the Adeptus Sororitas, the Basilica of St. Martius is now utterly surrounded. Necron forces have breached the walls in several locations and are now pressing towards the central keep. Imperial reinforcements continue to stream towards the Shrine Moon, but seem certain to arrive too late to affect the outcome of the battle. The Imperium must rely on the few remaining defenders to hold this inner sanctum. So Necrons. War of Attrition. The Necron Royal Court is finally united. Nobles, cryptex and lesser officers march alongside their troops, directing fire and opening further breaches in the Basilica's walls. They must seize ground, slay as many defenders as possible and drive the remaining humans deeper into the Basilica's shrine complex. Space Marines Imperium besieged. The Imperial commanders rush to rally their troops and repel the Necron assault. The inner courtyards and cloisters of the Basilica of St. Martius have been prepared with barricades, whilst destroyed structures have been fortified and secured. The Necrons will not seize these positions easily. If you've got destroyed structures, personally, from a tactical standpoint, if you're on a last stand and you've got time to prepare defences, you prepare your defensive lines and then you clear everything in front of it. So you have a killing ground. The enemy have got to cross that killing ground, that open space where there's no cover for them, whilst you guys are in cover, in order to close with the enemy, close with and kill the enemy. You know? Right, army building. Choose 1 or 2 HQs. Choose 1 troops. Choose any additional out of that. Your total will be 25 points. Example lists here. So we've got an example list 1 for Necrons, example list 2 for Necrons, an example list for our AdMech and Sisters, and then an example list for the Space Marines. And then marshal the defence. Refer to rules reference. Right. The Basilicus has been breached. The Imperial defenders scrambled to pre-prepared defensive positions. These locations must be held if the Necron assault is to be driven back. The Necrons player is the attacker in this mission. Necrons choose an army with a total power level of 25. This list must include 1 and 2, between 1 and 2 HQ units and at least 1 troops unit. Choose any armour, yeah, and it's the same for the Imperium. Lay your battlefield mats out as shown, so you're using all 4 of your battle. Are we? No, sorry, we're using 2 of the pale grey battlefield mats. Sorry, my mistake. It says create battlefield, lay your battle mats out below in the image and place 4 action markers in the positions indicated. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's an interesting thing. It's not saying anything about scenery, so I'm assuming you just add in the scenery as you want. And then, as I said, in the back here it shows us what we're going to get. So we're going to get our final piece of scenery, which is the final Hemotrope reactor. We're going to get Marnius Calgar and his Victrix Guard. We're going to get Bobby G himself. We're going to get the Vanguard Space Marines set, basically. So we get the 3 suppressors, the 3 eliminators, and the 10 are they infiltrators? And I think we get a Phobos lieutenant with those as well. We get the Firestrike servo turret, and we get the attack quad bike. And we get our Catacomb Command Barge, our Leash Guard, our Death Marks, and Locust Heavy Destroyer, I think it is, before the Necrons. So, yeah, there you go. That's it. That's your last bits and pieces. Into issue 60, Grey Knights, Secretive Demon Hunters. Love the Grey Knights. They're one of the factions I collect. I'm really disappointed that Forge World stopped doing the Mark IV Dreadnoughts because I've managed to pick up a Mark IV Grey Knights Dreadnought, but obviously getting the previous Psy Cannon weapon arm and Force Stave halberd that they did for that particular Dreadnought is like trying to find Rocking Horse poop. But there you go. So we're talking about Space Marines Armoury. Chapter's Armoury, its location, where the great majority of its armoured vehicles, gunships, weapons and wargear are maintained and tended between battles. So essentially, they're the Remy boys. And you get your servitors as well. Apologise if you can hear my neighbour talking on the phone outside. And then we've got painting our Space Marine Outriders. So, yeah, fairly basic. I mean, obviously you're going to paint it blue to begin with. Then add in all your black and silver details. Deal with any ancillary bits like holsters, swords, weapons, etc. And continue from there. It's quite a long painting tutorial this time round. And there you go. Right, Space Marine Rules, Angels of Death, Part 1. So these are just some additional rules for Space Marines. We get our Outrider Squad data sheet. So they have a 14-inch move. Their weapon skill 3+, ballistic skill 3+, which is standard Space Marine. Strength 4, toughness 5, wounds 4, 2 attacks for the standard Outriders and 3 for the Sergeant. Leadership 7 for the standard and leadership 8 for the Sergeant, and they get a 3-up save. Heavy bolt pistol, 18 inches, pistol 1, strength 4, AP -1, 1 damage. And then you get your twin bolt rifles. So they're 30 inches, rapid fire 2, so that you get rapid fire 4 if you're 15 inches or less to the enemy. And then -1 AP, 1 damage. And then we have the Astartes Chainsword, which is strength user, -1 AP and 1 damage. Each time the bearer fights, it makes 1 additional attack with this weapon. So you would get an additional attack. Now, it's a bit of a shame that they only allow you to field these in units of 3. But, you know, what can you do? Okay, assaulting the Basilica. The climactic battle for Alexia has arrived as the Necrons break through the final defensive perimeter and enter the Basilica of St. Martius. The Canoness and her last remaining battle sisters find themselves surrounded by Xenos foes. Imperial reinforcements have begun to arrive upon the battlefield, but face a race against time to turn back the Necron assault and secure the Basilica's holy relics. Necrons, Overlord. Storm and destroy. The Overlord has mustered the majority of his remaining forces and launched his final strike upon the Basilica. Necron warriors, immortals, and slaves as canoptic constructs surge through the structure's cloisters and atria, desperate to reach and destroy the superstitious humans' precious relics. Adeptus Sororitas, Canoness. Defend the relics. The battle sisters of the Alexian mission have suffered terrible losses. The last of their number hold out in the Basilica's reliquary. Reliquary. Determined. Murder that. Determined to defend its sacred contents with their lives. Reinforcements are inbound. Reliquary. Sorry. The Canoness and her sisters must hold their position until their allies join the battle. So, sacred relics. Mission briefing. The battle sisters hold the reliquary. For now at least, the Necrons must storm this position, destroy all resistance, seize the Imperium's last bastion and destroy that which is precious to them. So you're playing with Necron power 50. Okay, the Necron's army must contain the following and total no more than 50 power. Overlord and 2 troops choices. And the Imperium player's army must contain the following and total no more than 50 power. Canoness, 10 Battle Sisters, 5 Seraphim, and 1 other troop choice. And then obviously once you've filled those slots, any power points that you have left over you can use in buying in other units. So you're laying out all 4 of your battle mats in this area. You've got a central objective area in the centre, obviously, and you're using squares, 12-inch squares, in the corners of the terrain for deployment. Arrange 4 parts of the ruined Factorum terrain pieces of the centre battlefield. This is shown below. Terrain feature objectives serve as the objectives for this mission. Canoness and Battle Sisters must be deployed in the central objective terrain feature. The Imperium player must deploy as close to half of their remaining units as possible in each of their remaining deployment zones. The Necron player must deploy as close to half of their units as possible in each of the Necron's deployment zones. So there you go. The victor is decided as follows. Capture the reliquary. Did I get that right that time? The end game objective, the Imperium's only remaining objective on Alexia is to secure the moon's sacred relics. The Necron's prime objective is their destructions. The battle lasts for 5 rounds. At the end of the battle, the player with the most models wholly within the objective terrain feature is victorious. So there you go. Right, and then summing up, we get a Tomb Blade, our final Tomb Blade, and 2 paints. So, let me bring you down. I took you up, and now I'm going to bring you down. So, these wee beasties came with Indomitus. They were first released in Indomitus, and then they were released as a standalone kit later on. They are monopose, which is a shame. But as you'll see, you can do a little bit of kit bashing with them. That's got a slight curve to it. I don't know if you can see that. Do you see that? And then obviously we get these quite large oval bases. The wheels have got tabs on, so they go into the bases. Now when I glued mine in, I glued them just ever so slightly proud, so I didn't push them all the way in, I just left a slight gap. That way I was able to run the sand all the way up to the base of the wheels. And that's how I based them. But yeah, we get 3. We get 2 Outriders and an Outrider Sergeant. The Sergeant is bareheaded. He does have his helmet attached to his waist. You could, if you so chose, snip that off and do a little bit of sculpting. I'm not fussed. And they're totally devoid of any iconography, so these will suit any chapter. The shoulder pauldrons are plain, so my Ravenwing, you can make them. I will show you a completed Ravenwing biker Outrider. So the saddlebags here, the panniers, and also the Ravenwing icon, the purity seal here, and then obviously the feathered banner pole or antenna pole are the additions to this kit, and I'll show you how I put those on when I build one. But yeah, this is basically your Outrider. This is what they look like when they're completed. As you can see, mine is Ravenwing colours, and the shoulder pauldrons, you know, transfers quite nicely. Not any issues there at all. Yeah, so that's what you get. And then basically I ordered in, I've ordered 2 because I'm getting some other Outriders as well in another kit. But you get quite a few bits and pieces to be able to make your Outriders here into Ravenwing, appropriate Ravenwing for the game. But there you go. Come back in a sec and we'll build one. All right, see you in a while. Right, here we go. I'm going to build the Outrider. And right, I did just trim myself something off of the Ravenwing sprue, and typically now I can't see it. Typical. It's not stuck to my forearms, which is normally what happens. Normally sticks to my forearms and then drops on the floor. Oh no, there it is. Brilliant. Right, okay. So these Outriders are actually fairly straightforward in their construction. There's nothing too difficult with them. I'm going to start off with the front wheel, which, as you can see, is not a whole wheel, which is fair enough. You know, Doesn't need to be a whole wheel to save on plastic. Now it is disappointing that when they produced this kit, they produced it as just the push to fit kits without any options. Literally they've just taken it from the Indomitus box set and it does nothing. You know, you have to build it pretty much as is every time. So this pretty much goes together. All the bikes go together in this way. And they're nice bikes, don't get me wrong, but some customization, you know, like with the old bikers, would have been nice. Right, what's going on here? That's better. Right. So that's together. Then we're going to pop on the handlebars because otherwise they're a bit of a pig to get on if you forget to put them on at this stage. So just align them up so they're as straight as possible. What I'm going to do next is build up the Sergeant. And again, you know, push to fit. So this particular Mini, along with the Minis for the Ravenwing command, it is a shame that, you know, as I say, there's not a lot of flexibility. With the Ravenwing command there's quite a bit of flexibility, but the difficulty with that is that those minis, you know, the riders aren't compatible with the other motorcycle, Space Marine motorcycle kits that are available. So that, I think, was, I don't know whether that was a deliberate choice on their part or whether it was something that they just did not think about. So getting these into position and making sure that they go in okay can be a bit of a faff, because you have to obviously line up certain plugs and holes, etc. And obviously make sure that the hip joints are located properly. I'll pop his backpack on now. So that's one side in, and the next side. And just obviously making sure that where there are pins, etc., that they are located and go in appropriately. Now this is because you really do need to push this together in order to get the fit. And I often find it's this top part which is the issue. And that's the first time I've had a massive gap like that on top. So that's not good, because we're seated in all around the Mini, but there's clearly something amiss up here, which isn't right. I can't think what that would be, because it looks, looking at the angles, they all look to be okay. So whether this is a moulding issue, so let's just run some glue down there. That together like so. Right, so now with the Sergeant, you've got his chainsword which goes on his leg, but also because I'm Ravenwing, I am going to add in some bits. So I've got a Ravenwing icon, I've got one of the pannier bags, got a couple of purity seals, and obviously the antenna bit. Now, in order to fit it on, you need to angle it back slightly. So I recommend the easiest way to do that is just a bit of sanding paper. Do your rear antenna at an angle, and then just sand it, and that's how that works. Right, let's take that off. That'll have to do, I think. Now, next on is this arm, which is the arm for the control column. Together like so. Then his bolt pistol, there is always a bit of a struggle with some of these. To drill out his barrel. And right, from there, on this side, the chainsword has a tab that slots into the leg. Like so. And right, so what I'm going to do now is just take in the cue from my existing bikes that I have done so that I can make sure that I locate the icon where I want it to go. Thus, and then the pannier. Now the panniers will only go on the front comfortably, realistically. So there, the purity seals. Let's pop one on the rear there. Like so. And just there, I think. Like thus. And then the final bit is the antenna pole. Which locates on the rear like so. And then once you've done that, just push it into location, and there is your bike sergeant. So that's how you make him, and the rest of the squad goes together pretty much the same way. Alright, hopefully you'll join me in the next video. Alright, take care, bye.